former Senator Elizabeth Manette for that introduction. It makes me feel like I've been around a long, long time. It reminded me of my days in Arima. And there seems to be, in recent times, whenever I appear on the platform for this general election, I have to say, I feel like I'm coming back home. Only last week I was in Morvan, and I had to say I feel like I was back home in Morvan when I lived in my mother's house at Coconut Drive. Tonight, hearing about Arima Central School, I feel like I'm back home in Arima. And when I go to Tobago in a couple of weeks' time, I will have to say again, I feel like I'm coming back home. It is either I've been around this country or I've been around a long time, or both. Mr. Chairman Franklin Khan, Chairman of the People's National Movement, Vice Chairman and Lady Vice Chairman, other party officers, my fellow candidates, supporters of the PNM, members of the PNM, members of the national community of Trinidad and Tobago, this is election time. That time would have come, and we have another few weeks to determine if we continue the way we have been going, or if we take the opportunity to rectify the course of destruction that we had embarked upon in 2010. Fellow citizens, I maintain that the most important job assigned to the political leader of any political party aspiring to run this country is the job of operating an effective, democratic, efficient, honest political party. And out of that party should come a group of citizens who are dedicated and committed to public service. Arima, Trinidad and Tobago, tonight we have presented to you 12 such persons. A portion of the candidates of the People's National Movement in our 60th year, offering ourselves to manage the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago once again. In the small group of candidates represented tonight, 12 out of 41, it would have been clear to you that we didn't pick them up over a drink in a rum shop or by a bar or at somebody's dinner table. We came to these people as our selectees after careful examination using our party screening process at our party headquarters. And among them you will see some of our brightest sons and daughters bringing to you experience, the experience of managing men and machines, of making important decisions in delicate situations, leading our defense force. Ask Brigadier Ansel Antoine where he spent his time. You would have seen a woman from Sangre Grande whose mother knew public service more than most women in this country, where she served as a counselor, and Glenda Jennings grew up in a household knowing what public service was all about. And her service in the police force was such that today, having resigned recently from a full term of service, she is holding the office of retired assistant deputy commissioner, assistant commissioner with pride. You should hear members of the police service speak about Glenda Jennings as one of their colleagues when she served. And when you serve in the police service and reach the rank of assistant commissioner, and you walk away and you offer yourself for service in the parliament, and you have that kind of goodwill from the fraternity of the police service, you know that she is the best candidate that the PNM could have selected for Toko Sangre. So come September 7th in Sangre Grande, whether it's fish broth, it's pilau, it's sancoch or roti, she's going to eat Brent raw. And you look at our slate, in the field of experience, they don't come more experienced and committed to party and country than Camille Robinson Regis. And this is the strength of our experience that support the newcomers. The newcomers in Samo Barataria, the newcomers in St. Joseph, even though he's been there for a year or two in the parliament, but he's still a newcomer. But he's fitted so well into the team that the people of St. Joseph would have seen him and they would know that he's the man that they want to return to parliament. Terence Darcy. And in Arima, you could not want a more experienced and dedicated citizen, highly qualified, a man in whom all of us are proud. I had the opportunity last Sunday afternoon to spend some time with the Archbishop of Trinidad and Tobago, Archbishop Joseph Harris. And I took with me to that meeting Colum Imbert, my wife, and Anthony Garcia, and Mrs. Imbert. And we spent some time listening to words of wisdom from Archbishop Joseph Harris. And I can tell you one thing. It is not only the PNM that is proud of Anthony Garcia. As a teacher who rose to the highest level of service, as a former principal of Fatima College, as a former head of tutor, who had the responsibility for speaking for all the teachers in Trinidad and Tobago, no better man was prepared to speak about our education system and to speak about the PNM in Trinidad and Tobago in 2015. And in the political arena, he was molded in the cauldron of fire. Because when they swept us out of Arima, they left one soldier standing. They left Anthony Garcia as the lone PNM voice in Arima. And he did not let Arima down. Anthony Garcia is prepared for service in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. What's your choice? Garcia or Samuel? You know what the current MP will be remembered for? After 5 years in the Parliament? Up until recently, he would not have been remembered at all. But he will be remembered for one thing, and that is he is the man who was the least of the apostles. But once you are an apostle, the leader has to pay attention. Because if you're a Judas, you might take 30 pieces of silver and sell out the leader. Or on the other hand, you might be a brilliant preacher and impress the leader. Or you might go home and go on strike and threaten the leader. And you go on fast and tell the leader, if I don't get a ministry, I go on with Jack Warner. And our unflattering prime minister, our hapless prime minister, had to make Roger Samuel a minister. And you, the taxpayers, had to pay for a minister. The next time you see Roger Samuel, Ask him what did he do for a normal day's work as a minister of government in Trinidad and Tobago. Absolute waste of taxpayers' money. Absolute waste of time, and a creature of the instability of the Kamla Prasad arrangement, where every Tom, Dick, and Harry could make demands on the Prime Minister, and if I don't get what I want, I mash up the game, I mash up the Cuban and Lego the bird. Well, under a PNM government, under a PNM Prime Minister, having chosen the way we have chosen and being the PNM of 1956 to 2015, no minister will blackmail any Prime Minister and create any instability in Trinidad and Tobago. Because it's not about what they get, it's the service they come to give. So when Brigadier Antoine comes out of the army with the experience of managing men and women and securing this nation, comes into the team and becomes part of the team, he has come not to make demands, he has come to serve as he has served in the Defense Force. And when Mrs. Critchlow Coburn comes out as a major and senior manager of the National Insurance Board, highly qualified and experienced, and she comes and offers to represent the people of Lopino-Bonnier, highly qualified and experienced and as youthful as the ladies come. And her opponent is the white hat man. You know that the people of Lopino-Bonnier from 2015 going forward will get a member of parliament in whom they can be proud. And it's all about service. It's all about service. And it's not all about degrees and PhDs and high managerial position. It's about love for the people. It's about competence. It's about the desire to see your community grow. And therefore, you look at Esmond Ford in Tunapuna. If ever there was a citizen who was called at short notice, who put up his hand and say, "Here am I, just tell me where you want me." At the corporation in Tunapuna Piako, no councillor, bar one, has attracted more positive comments than Esmond Ford serving the people of Tunapuna. And it is that sterling record of service in the Tunapuna Piako Corporation which today has caused him to be selected as our candidate qualified to go to Parliament. Coming out of local government as a PNM MP, he'll be walking in the footsteps of Kamaluddin Mohammed, who came out of local government into Parliament and became the longest serving member of Parliament in the Commonwealth. And then he would be walking in the footsteps of Jarrett Narain, who came out of Aruka North, out of local government. And then we move to Mayaro. And we present to you Clarence Rambarat, who is not only a Mayaro man, a Caroni man, he's a Trinidad and Tobago man, a man for all seasons. And if there is one candidate on our platform who represents all of Trinidad and Tobago and the best of Trinidad and Tobago, Clarence Rambarat is that man. Hardworking, intelligent, experienced, committed, and willing. Clarence Rambarat. The people of Mayaro can choose no better than Clarence Rambarat. And of course, the deputy chairman in public service in the Sangre Grande Corporation, Barry Lochan. These are the people. These are the people. And amongst them, amongst the experience, the very experienced, you have the youthful candidate from St. Augustine who will send Prakash packing Romano. Miss Romano is offered to the people of St. Augustine to replace Prakash. And be careful, pronounce his name properly. You know, her opponent is so feckless and spineless that the UNC comes up with this ridiculous launch yesterday at the Hyatt, day before yesterday. Calls the media down to launch something. In fact, the media didn't know what they were called there for. They were called to see the Prime Minister. And when they got there, they realized it was to launch a website to demonize Keith Rowley. And would you believe when the rest of the country is stooping and asking what nonsense is this? Prakash put up his hand and said, I of the COP, we support that. But I wasn't surprised. Not surprised at all. That has been Prakash's record. Section 34, he supported. Live sport, he supported. Baby fund, the thieving money from children milk, he supported. And Logan get $420 million to give lawyers to throw away cases, he's supporting that. Why wouldn't he support a website against Keith Rowley? So if the people of St. Augustine run true to form and choose wisely on the 7th of September, young Miss Romano will represent the PNM in St. Augustine. It reminds me of an ad when they reduced the price of curry and said they reduced the cost of food and the cost of living. Remember that? And one of those comedians had a joke. How much curry I go eat? Remember that ad? I want to ask St. Augustine, after all that Prakash has done and not done in the last 5 years, how much more Prakash you go take? How much more? What more does he have to do for you to see that the man will sell out his soul, sell out his self-respect, he sold out his party, and he will sell out Trinidad and Tobago to hold on to St. Augustine seat? So people of St. Augustine, you have a real choice, a well-presented, well-prepared candidate with tremendous potential to represent you in St. Augustine. I ask you for your support. There's a fellow down in Lahokata Talparo who has been giving away state lands as though it was his grandfather owned. Give away half of the state land in Trinidad and Tobago. And he wants to go back to give away the other half. I want to ask you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, if, like myself and other ministers of lands, if we had done what Jaimongal Simongal has done, where would he have got state land to give away? So today, all previous ministers of lands respected the state resource and respect the national patrimony, not Jaimongal Simongal. So I say to the people of Wallafield, the people of Talparo, the people of Brazil, and the people of Lahoketa, come September 7th, get rid of Jaimongal Simongal if they want to save the state lands in Trinidad and Tobago. Classic case. I will tell you one thing. There are people in this country who are PNM haters. You know that I heard somebody speaking of hatred against Usain Bolt. Now, where you find something to hate Usain Bolt? I was in a lunch in Antigua a few years ago in Brian Lara's heyday And among the people invited to the lunch was a member of the West Indies Board of Control. And as the lunch started, we started talking cricket, and Brian Lara's prowess came up. It was just after he had broken the record the second time. And this member of the West Indies Cricket Board, his conversation was that Lara can't bat. Lara could only bat on flat wicket. And Lara could only bat when bowlers tired. Now, I didn't like the food, but I liked the company less. And I said, you see me? Before I have to get in trouble on this table today, let me leave and go my way. And I left the table. Because if you could find all that negative about Brian Lara, are you surprised that there are people in Trinidad and Tobago to have negatives about the PNM and BPNM haters? We are the Brian Lara of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. So we are not surprised if there are some people who, for whatever reason, find the PNM unattractive. But since 1956 to now, the record will show that on the vast majority of occasions, the people of Trinidad and Tobago have found the PNM the most attractive political party in our history. And come September 7th, this glorious track record will be continued when we give ourselves and the nation a birthday gift in our 60th year of a resounding general election victory. So those who don't respect us, those who don't care for us, in your minority, small minority, we respect you and we care for you. Because the PNM represents all the people in Trinidad and Tobago. In our history, you would be hard-pressed to find a single family in Trinidad and Tobago who cannot point to significant improvement in their family or personal life and circumstance which you can't trace to a PNM policy somewhere between 56 and 2010. Understand that. So when those who don't look at us and pay no attention to us, they don't read our script, they don't listen to our meetings, they don't listen to us in the parliament, and then, like one who was on Red TV this morning, like the bad penny, and one who mouthed like a... I almost went to Tobago for a description. But I remember that we used to only eat fowl on Sundays. So let me leave that there. But they're on TV that the PNM and Rowley, we have no policies. No policies. Now, if you are not paying attention to us, I am not surprised that you don't know that we have policies. Because look how many times we have taken a stand saying that there is a traffic problem of national gridlock and it has to be replaced by the construction of a mass transit system. And as we go to the polls, we recommit ourselves to reviewing what we had started, which they have stopped. And we have said as a policy, once the reviews say that it is the right thing to do, the PNM will embark upon building a mass transit system, east, west, north, south, but they say we have no policies. And you, the people of Arima, you who do business outside of Arima, south or west or east, you want to know that there's a system that you can get on and travel around this country. Because you would be one of the major beneficiaries of the construction of a mass transit system. And at the end of the day, no more of this nonsense of your life being that you wake up at 4:30 in the morning and you wake up late. Because you were supposed to wake up at 3:30 to get your children ready, to get them in the transport, to join the traffic jam, to go down to Tunapuna or to go to Port of Spain, and God forbid to go to Diego Martin. What that piece of infrastructure will do is to allow your life to change and change for the better. And those of you who can't afford a house in Arima or in the developed areas on the east-west corridor elsewhere, It will open up lands and routes outside of these areas, and then you will be able to afford a house and a home. And you young ones, you can now get married and start your own family in your own home because there's transport to move you around the country. But we have no policy. I was in Valencia a few weeks ago, and I outlined a comprehensive commitment of an upgraded A-class road from Valencia to Toco to meet a port in Toco and to link Tobago to Trinidad from Toco as it was in the 19th and early 20th century. I will tell you this, there was a time in this country when Tobagonians came to Trinidad by way of Toco, and that is why they have so much Tobagonians in Toco. I didn't know they had so much Tobagonians in Toco until I walked from Kumana to Matlot, and I meet all my family up there. Because they used to come from Tobago to Toco, and that was a long, long time ago. Today, we are much better off in this country, and that route will open up the eastern part of the country, open up Arima, open up the rest of Trinidad. You want to go to Tobago, you go at will. As I speak to you now, our country, Trinidad and Tobago, we are separated by a ticket. A ticket separates one portion of the country from the other. You in Tobago, you want to come to Trinidad, you have no ticket. Trinidad, you want to go to Tobago for Easter, for Christmas, for just for the hell of it, you can't get a ticket. Well, we are going to put an end to that in this period because we're going to build that road, we're going to build the ferry. And the road to Tobago will pass through Toco, and the sea journey is 27 miles as against 80 miles. And the ferries will run every hour on the hour as against once a day and twice a day. Do you see that vision? Do you see that policy? But according to, that fellow with the mouth, he has no policy. And those who don't pay attention to us have no policy. And you know why we can do it? If we could give away $400 million extra to SIS to build a dirty water treatment plant in Beetham, we could build a road to Toco. All the roads we're traveling on now were built when we were spending less money. What it calls for, as Anthony Garcia says, the skill and the will. And we have the skill and we have the will. They didn't hear our policies about local government, where we will give local government tremendously widened responsibilities and increased resources to manage state delivery at the local level, modeled on the Tobago House of Assembly arrangement. That is a commitment, but we have no policies. They didn't hear us talk in Labre about the expansion of our industry for export by the creation of a plywood industry in Labre, using our own hydrocarbon adhesives, our own electricity, and the importation of wood products from Suriname and Guyana. They didn't hear that. That is not policy. So they come with no Rowley, no policy. Yes, they're right. I have no policy. And my record shows that. I have been in public life since 1980, in Parliament since 1987. I have no policy to thief government money. Every single thing I have, I can explain. And I have explained to inquiries, to commission, to integrity commission. When I was 18 years old, in fact, when I was 17 years old, my grandfather gave me all he had. He called me to his side and said, boy, I have nothing to give you except this piece of land. I want to take it down to Mr. Kelly's office to give you a deed for it, a deed of purchase. So when my eye closed, nobody could fight you for it here. And in my school uniform, I went with my grandfather to Kelly's office in Scarborough, and I became a taxpayer from that day, $1.44, paying for my 2.5 acres land in Tobago. The UNC and Kamla and them take plane and fly to Tobago, take a picture of my house from the air, put it on paper, and say I thief material in Scarborough to build it. You understand? I had to end up in front of inquiry, commission of inquiry. And even when they called the commission of inquiry, they didn't want me to come and explain myself. I had to hire a lawyer to go there. I defy any one of them today to put themselves up for scrutiny. Straight to Golden Grove they're going. Have you heard the latest joke? Have you heard the latest joke? Well, it would have been a joke if it wasn't serious. You know, they want to go to jail in air-conditioned cells. And they want the beds to have Tempur-Pedic mattresses. And they want certain soft chairs. So you know what they did? Out of the blue, for the election policy display, they intend to build on top of the Royal Jail some floating museum, which is really an air-conditioned jail. So in the event that they get sent there, it's already there for them. They ain't fooling nobody. They're not fooling anybody. We talking about moving the jail from Frederick Street. You talking about building comfortable room upstairs. I have no policy to appoint family and friend to public office. They were not content to appoint an incompetent, unqualified governor of the central bank. They now appoint an equivalent deputy governor with a 5-year contract. So if you didn't get enough of the governor, take it in your pooch. A deputy governor coming too. That's how they run the country. I have no policy to do that. I have no friend and no policy to make my friends escape through Section 34. I have no policy to encourage criminals to use taxpayers' money to strengthen themselves. I have no policy to lie to the parliament that live sport is $6 million. And when you hear the tune, it's 400 million, and it's only when the dead bodies start to pile up. And of course, I take no issue with the police doing their job. But I'm still a citizen observing. I hope that the police could add to the detection level that is so low with respect to criminal conduct in Trinidad and Tobago. So, I hope at the end of the inquiry and the questioning of Baka that it is in fact serious, honest police work, and we are very near to the to closing the case on the Nasita Hall. Because if it is not, we would have entered another very dangerous and unacceptable state of affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. When I went to the parliament and asked for an investigation into the emails that Jacona is now telling us he was there when they hatched the conspiracy, all I did was to ask for an investigation. And the police was in my office the next morning treating me like a criminal. And if Faris Alwawi had not taped the meeting with the police, I, as opposition leader in Trinidad and Tobago, had to watch the police lying about my statement to the police. And Alwawi had to play the tape to let the media understand that the police was lying about an interview with the leader of the opposition in Trinidad and Tobago. People of Trinidad and Tobago, I just hope that our worst fears are not realized. So we have no policy. I have no policy to drink and drunk. And I have no policy to vomit in the government car. As a matter of fact, I have no policy to smoke, not plant-like or animal-like substance. So when you elect me to office, you know I don't have those policies. But I say to you tonight, they accuse me of being a fighter. They accuse me of being aggressive. I plead guilty. I plead guilty. Because I'm a fighter for you. I've always been a fighter for you. When, as Minister of Agriculture, I fought with Basdio Pandey to bring him to the table to sign the tripartite agreement between the government, the sugar union, and the company. I was fighting for the Caroni workers. And in the cabinet, I fought for them and got $2.5 billion for them when that company died, when the market died. Today, I have to hear that there was a political conspiracy written in the Garden of Democracy, 2 pages of misinformation about Caroni history, that Caroni was closed down because of political policy. We were afraid of union leadership. We were afraid of endorsing. So we closed down Caroni because Caroni was producing too many political leaders. Endorsing. But the truth is this, that 10 years ago, after 25 years of nursing an industry whose market disappeared, we came to the end of the road. And we gave those workers more than any other worker had ever got in terms of the end of an industry in Trinidad and Tobago. Yet 10 years after the industry was closed down, an election is due, and the Prime Minister gets up and says she will pay money to cane farmers. Well, okay, well, pay them the money. You know how she's paying the money? She's paying it in 3 parts. Give them a little kakada before the election, with a promise to give them the rest after the election. You know what that means? You know what that means? It means that she has bound the next government, because having done that and given them the first payment, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is bound by that commitment to give them the rest after the election. That is a decision made by this government for elections in 2015 that binds the next government. And it's all about elections. It has nothing to do with Caroni workers and Caroni. Because go to Vasant Bharat's statement, when they demanded the money from the EU, which they were told they will be given when the UNC got into government, and they discovered that the money was not for distribution to individuals. It was money for policy on the wider level. It was Vasant Bharat himself who told them, you can't get that money. He was now a minister. When he was outside, he promised to give them. When he became a minister and Sukaram Tambi went to St. Clair in the march, Vasant Bharat, the minister, told them, you can't get the money because the money is not for that. That money is to replace a part of the $2.5 billion that you already got. And you know what he said further? If we give you the money, you'll take it and buy fridge and stove. You remember that? But it's election time now, and the tune changed. And they use it every election to create racial hatred and division in Trinidad and Tobago. Go and read the article in The Guardian and you will see. You will see how they're stirring up racial hatred among a part of our community. But tonight I want to say to the East Indian population in Central and South Trinidad, no government has treated you or anybody better in any country than the People's National Movement. And if you don't believe me, if you think the industry died as they're saying now because of PNM spite and political spite, who killed it in St. Kitts? Who killed it in Jamaica? Who killed it in St. Lucia? Who killed it everywhere that sugar died because the market died? You understand how they're revising our history? Well, I'm telling you something here tonight, in case you all don't believe me. Vote the PNM into office on the 7th of September, and Anthony Garcia will be the Minister of Education. And I'm instructing him here tonight in Arima that one of his first assignments, among others, is to make the necessary review to the national curriculum for our schools, where from primary school our children will be taught the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And taught in such a way, that no person coming after could fool them from election to election. We will stand up with what we have lived, what we have done, and our true history will set us free. We're being told by many who suffer from a certain disquiet, you all are going to be in big trouble when you get into office because this government will leave such bad things for you. Well, let me say something here to all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It is the job of any government to treat with whatever exists in the country at the time when you are in government. So whatever it is, it will be the workload of the government of the day. And whatever they leave for us, we will be up to the task of dealing with the issues of Trinidad and Tobago. When we came into office in 1991, after the NAR's rampage, we were told that we were stuck with an IMF program. And you know when countries get into the hands of the IMF, what happens? But there was a PNM leader, Patrick Manning, who told us in the cabinet and told the country, let us not surrender ourselves to the easy way out and maintain ourselves as being in the hands of the IMF. Let us band our belly and get out of the IMF program as quickly as possible. And we as a people, we did that. And in a very short time, we were out from under the IMF. And then we were able to make certain decisions. And those decisions put us on the road to prosperity. We've done that before. Eric Williams did it in '56, and Manning in '91, and in 2015, Keith Rowley and the PNM will do it again. As I speak to you now, this Prime Minister and her government awarding contracts left, right, and center, small contracts, medium contracts, big contracts. We have no idea, and we will have no idea what the total bill is for the misconduct in the last 3 months. Until the parliament resumes, and until new ministers go into office, you will have no idea of the damage that they have done. What we do know is that as I speak to you now, there are many, many contractors who are not being paid. Of course, a handful of the favored ones are being paid with the money that's available. But all these contracts they're awarding, they are paying the mobilization. And that goes to the contractor, and a portion goes to the party for the elections. And they're awarding contracts left, right, and center. And they're leaving that there for the next government to pay. The same way they did with the currency payment. Offer the workers a payment. but pay them a part before the election and leave the rest for the next government to pay. That is what is going on right now. But we have come through worse than that. We have survived worse than that. And we are resilient people. And you now have the confidence. You have the confidence. Imagine the Prime Minister gets up and says, that is the same set of people that was PLM before who are coming to you this time. You know, she expects you to say that about her. She expects you to say that about the UNC. Because already you have Dikoto. Already you have Rambachan. Already you have who? Gavin Simonet. Gavin Nicholas. Well, I'm not even sure he'll be a candidate, you know. Because until he gives back Jack Warner the money Jack Warner gave him, he might have been disqualified to be a candidate. Because no Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago who is beholding to a person in Jack Warner's position should be in office making decisions on Jack Warner. If decency had prevailed in this country, Gavin Nicholas would have removed himself from that Jack Warner matter, because the money for which Jack Warner is in trouble, he was sharing in the money too. But the people of the Martin Northeast will answer about that and will deal with that. So when you go to office, you now have the confidence that the PNM team will bring back decency to governance in Trinidad and Tobago. And for those who have not heard about policy, they certainly have not heard about policy for parliamentary reform. They haven't heard of policy for cabinet reform. They haven't heard of policy for reform of our judiciary, giving them the authority to handle their affairs, to be truly independent and to grow with the needs of the time. But every day, more and more people are coming to the conclusion that in 2015, the PNM is the best choice for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My job is being made easier by the arrival of this team, the rest of which you will see in San Fernando and in Tobago in the very near future. And I'm proud to lead them into political battle. I am proud to have led this party for the last 5 years, to have made the adjustment and the changes. And I'm proud to stand before you as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, applying for the job of Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. They have no record. That's what Kamala Prasad-Bissessar says. They are not prepared. I want to ask her tonight, what record did Roger Samuel have? What record and how prepared was Stacey Roopnaraine and Neela Khan and Anand Ramlogan? And of course, you know Rambachan's record. And we've seen Moodilal's record. And what was Vernella Allen Toppin's record? What was Delmon Baker's record? Compare pound for pound, and you will see the PNM is quality and they were just pure quantity. So come September 7th, Arima, as we leave you tonight, we leave you in the good and capable hands of Anthony Garcia. In Lopino Bonnier, we leave you in the hands of Mr. Kitchlow. In St. Augustine, we leave you in the hands of Ms. Romano. And in Tower Barataria, we're coming to fight for Mr. Ali. And in Toko Sangugandi, we leave you in the capable hands of Glenda Jennings. In Mayaro, we leave you in the good hands of Clarence Chambarat. And down there in La Joqueta Talparo, we leave you in the hands of the one and only Maxi Coffee. In Dabadiam area, we ask you to follow the General, Brigadier Antoine. This, in all my days, and I've been on PNM platforms as part of a PNM general election team since 1981, I can say I am as proud of this team as any other that was ever presented for the People's National Movement. So Arima tonight, and all those of you who have come to support us in Arima, we want to ask you to take this responsibility seriously. Think about the last 5 years. Think about those days and nights when you thought you couldn't bear it anymore and that things couldn't get any worse. We've survived, and things will only get worse if on the 8th of September we have not made the change we set out to make. We will make that change. We will lead you to a better place. We will realize our potential as a nation, and decency and good order will return to Trinidad and Tobago. So as we leave Arima, I want to thank all of you who came out here tonight in your thousands to join us in San Fernando next Tuesday when we present the next batch. And when we get to Woodford Square, I want you wall to wall in Woodford Square, sending a loud and powerful signal to all of Trinidad and Tobago. Send them all of Trinidad and Tobago, from Charlottesville to Cedros, from Carnac to San Grande. And we say with one voice, the people of Trinidad and Tobago have come together to save our nation. And we say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we have prevailed. Let's do this.